I'm back in the decision project here because we're going to continue on to if then else statements into switch statements. So we had a basic if else statement, and last time we were kind of playing with the syntax. Well, we created a scenario where it's either even or odd. That is easy because we have an if and an else. What if we had a scenario where it could be more than that? So let's say instead, I'm going to just delete some of it. You know what? I'm not going to delete some of this. I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to say instead I can have an int, which is the stoplight color. Okay? And that we'll set it to be, oh, you know what? This is a good chance for us to practice with constants. So I can say a final int is red is equal to 0. Final int yellow is equal to 1. And final int green is equal to 2. Now the numbers don't mean anything here. They're just token values to represent the three phases of a stoplight that you normally would see driving red, yellow, and green. And so the stoplight color could be any of these, so we'll just make it red to start with. So actually, let's just make it red to start with, right there. And so we could say if the stoplight color is equal to red, oops, sorry, I need two equals there, equal to red, then don't forget the 2, because if I do 1, it's an assignment. And Java has this quirky thing where if you do assignment right there, it always comes back true, but it will actually change the value of that. The first one will always be true. So got to make sure you do the doubles inside of there. Play with that if you want to. That's another place you can play to see what happens. So we can say system.out.println stop. That's what the instruction would have. Else if, this is where the else if comes in. Stoplight color is equal to yellow. We can say system.out.println clear the intersection. Right there. All right. And then we can say else if it's not red, it might be yellow. We can say else if stoplight color is equal to green. Control space right there. That's what I did to make that pop up. I can say system.out.println go. All right, so that's your basic if then else. And if I want to, I can say else system.out.println I don't know what to do. Maybe stop and look. All right, because that's if it's not red, yellow, or green, I don't know what it is. So again, I can run my code here. You can see the stuff we had before, and then it says stop because I set the red color to red. I can set this color to 99, which is perfectly valid because it's just any integer that's out there, but it's neither red, yellow, or green. And it would come back and say, I don't know what to do. Maybe stop. So again, I can set this to any of these colors, like yellow, and then it should come up with the correct logic. So when you get to this point, it's the value of this is yellow. It's not red, so I skip by that one. It is yellow, and so I type out clear the intersection. That's the the standard behavior of the if then else that we looked at. So we have the condition of it being red, we have the condition of being yellow, we have the condition of being green, and then if it's none of those, then this is what we do. Now, hopefully you've identified this problem as something that's a good candidate for a switch statement. What we have is a single variable we're checking over and over again, stoplight color. That variable is of type integer. It can be an integer, it could be a string, it could be an enumerated type. There's a number of different Java types that we can deal with here. What we can do then is restructure this code. It's fundamentally going to do the exact same thing as far as behavior goes, but we can do it in such a way that it's maybe a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to read. So the same code to be written that way would be a switch statement on stoplight color. Control space, stoplight color. Oops, sorry. All right, oops, one too many. And there's my switch statement structure. And then I need cases inside of there. So case for red. Notice I can pick a case based off of the constants that are inside of there. So that when it's red, I can say, just like we did before, system.out.println stop. And then I need to break, because if I don't break, and I like to put my breaks aligned there, and I actually like these to be indented too. That's my preference. I like to put the break here so I can see where the case starts and stops. The break is optional. Again, you have the pass-through functionality, but in our case, it works very nicely. I can also do case, I could do case yellow, or I can do case 1. Either way. This is confusing to write it this way, but I just want to show you that it's possible. I'm just going to say, copy this right here. Copy this line, Control-C copy, Control-V paste, break here as well. And I like the break to be on that line. That's my preference. Again, this would be better served to say yellow, but I want you to show you it compiles just fine. I can't put yellow here. That doesn't work because the value right here is a string, and we are expecting an integer value up here. So they have to align. What's an integer up here has to be an integer constant, or literal value down here, but it can't be a string. I can't have the number 1 down here instead of quotes, because that's a string that's number 1. That's not actually number 1. I could have this, or I can have that yellow here. I could not have stoplight color. That's a valid variable, and just because this variable is there. But you can see the error here is cannot be resolved to, stop, oh, sorry, I kept capital L there. Stop light color. So the error now is case expression must be constant. Remember, in a switch statement, I have to have constants. I can't have variables that already exist. Even if, same variable, different variable, they have to be constant variables if they're going to be a final variable. So let's make this yellow again, and then case green, and then we can copy this code from up here because I've already typed it once. And there is your break. And the order of these is completely unimportant. So let me go ahead and just run this as it is right now. You can see it says clear the intersection both times. If I change this variable up here to be red, it says stop both times. If I change this to be green, it says go both times. If I change this to be some random number, it says I don't know what to do, maybe stop and look. Down here it did nothing because I haven't dealt with that case yet. There's 4 million cases, 4.2 million cases minus 3 that I'm not dealing with because I've only dealt with 3 numbers inside there. The way I deal with that extra case is I can add a default inside of here. So default. And when I have a default, I say I don't know what to do, maybe stop and look. And then I can put the break here. Now the break's not required here because it's the end of the code. I like to put it here, and I'll show you why in just a second. But let's just go ahead and run this with the break. See, the default, excuse me, I don't know what to do. It shows up both times. So again, why do I put the break here? Well, there's no reason the default has to be the last thing. I could put the default up here in the middle somewhere. So in between the red and the yellow case, and it all compiles fine. There's no red code showing up for compilation errors, and it all runs fine. It says maybe I'll stop and look. This could be the first item up here. I might want to change the order of these at any time, and that's where the break comes in handy because I can move these things around. I can add in new cases afterwards. If I forgot the break inside of here, what would happen is it says I don't know what to do. Maybe stop and look, and then it says stop. That's not so bad. I mean, in this case, it could be an acceptable thing to do. I don't know what to do. Maybe stop and look and then stop. But is that the intended behavior? That's entirely up to you, the requirements, what the customer asks for. But this is the capabilities of the switch statement. Once again, this is a time to play. Go see switch statements. I guarantee you you won't be asked to do a switch statement in the assignment. If you try and use a switch statement in the assignment, yeah, you can do it if you want to, but it's not something that's going to be absolutely mandatory. Switch cases really work best for situations like this. So you have a fixed set of conditions, typically by when users are typing in values in command line applications, but they're not something you're going to use all that commonly. So play with them now because it might be your only chance to play with them for a long time. And you could have to take a test someday. Some jobs require a Java certification test before you get started, and switch statements would definitely be covered on those. So just because I say you don't use them very often doesn't mean you shouldn't know about them, because there might be cases where you do need to know about switch cases. So you'll learn about them and be ready for that.